Hey everyone, Ryan's.rs here. Today I'm going to be cutting up the quarters on the RS. Again, I cut them 2 years ago when I did the AirTech flares, but now that I'm on bags, I was on springs at the time, I want to be able to have a little bit more drop in the rear and make some more space for the new wheel and tire setup that I'm planning on during this rebuild. So before we get into that, I want to get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. First and foremost, don't take anything that I say as professional advice. I'm just a guy in his garage that's documenting what he's doing, and hopefully I can help somebody out along the way. If you have any reservations about what you're doing, take it to a shop, have it done by a professional. Again, I'm in no way a professional, amateur through and through. Next up, most important stuff, eye pro, ear pro is always a good idea. Throwing sparks all over. I'm just going to be using a Chicago Electric Harbor Freight brand Dremel with a diamond cutoff blade. You can use the regular cutoff wheels, they wear down a lot quicker, so you have to be changing them out. I got the easy change, so that makes it nice. You can use a regular angle grinder, 3.5 inch, 4.5 inch. This is just gives you a little bit more precision in what you're doing. Mine's a little bit of a special situation because I already have the seam sealer and everything on there from the first time. To go at that with a flapper wheel, get that all ground down. Another big disclosure I want to say is this is not for the faint of heart. You are destroying a very expensive piece of the car to repair. If you have any concerns about resale value or anything like that, don't do this. I did it 2 years ago because I never planned on getting rid of the car, and now since the car has been declared a total loss, I'm even less, have even less reservations of hacking stuff up and whatnot. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. It's nerve-wracking to make that first cut for sure. But once you get going, it's not that hard. Quick overview of the process. Each car is going to be different, but on the Focus, there's actually 2 layers of metal. You have the outer skin and then the inner skin. So what we'll be doing is we'll get rid of the seam sealer. Use Sharpie, and I'll draw a rough cut line that I want to go through, and we'll cut just this outer skin. We'll peel that off, and then that inner skin, we'll cut tabs out of it. That way we can bend them up, and then that inner skin will be re-welded to the outside here. I don't have a welder, so I'll have to have my brother-in-law come over at some point and take care of that. I got some stuff up front for him to weld as well. I'll show a clip of what I'm talking about there. To be able to get a little lower in the front, there's a pinch weld up on the inside of the fender up front that I just tapped out, folded up. I'll just have him tack it back in place. And then you just hit it with some seam sealer. That way it doesn't rust. That's really all it is. It's not entirely complicated. It's nerve-wracking. If you're doing flares or anything like that, I kept my inner fender liners originally. I had trimmed it, folded it up, and I actually used the seam sealer to hold it in place. But this go around, I'm just going to rip them out. It's not necessary to have them in there. It's kind of just one more thing to get in the way. So yeah, let's get the car up in the air and we'll get to work. Right, now that we got the car up in the air, always use jack stands. Want to be safe. We'll take the wheel off. This has been taken off so many times since it's been sitting since August that it should be nice and easy to come off for me. You can see here the fender liner is cut and tabbed. Obviously it'll stick out a little bit I show it to you, there's just some little clips on the inside. They look like this. Just spin those off. There's usually two more up here, but I had taken those off when I did the reverse mounted hardware the first time. So take all those off. And out comes the fender liner. Now, when we're grinding and cutting, we're going to be throwing sparks and making a big mess. It's not a bad idea to have a welding blanket or something non-flammable. Throw over any of your suspension or anything like that, get it all covered up, get it protected. Also on the old iPro, Ear Pro, we can get to flapping this all off, all the old seam sealer, and then we'll start cutting. Now, with how much I plan on taking off, I didn't really need to cut that, or flap that off rather, because it's all just going to be cut out anyway. In the long run, it's going to help, because it's going to give me bare metal that needs to fold up, or it's not going to stick. It's not going to gum up the cutting wheel or anything like that. Just got my fingers crossed that we didn't set off the smoke alarm for the house. So yeah, let's move in closer, and I'll show you guys how to actually cut through the rear quarter panel. Alright, so I'm just going to wipe this down real quick. It helps if you draw a line to give you a rough guide to follow. When I was on springs, I cut 2.5 inches front and rear, and I'm probably going to take off an extra inch or so now that I'm on bags for probably about 3.5 inches total. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark out a rough line. It's going to come through some of these old mounting bolts that I did for the reverse mounted hardware, but we'll just have to re-drill some of those when the new SS kit goes on. There's no real exact science to this. You just want to be able to make enough room for whatever wheel and tire setup you plan on running. Looking back on it, it would have been nice to only have had to cut once instead of twice, but in my particular case, I have the opportunity where the car's down and I can take care of this all now. Completely optional. I trimmed the actual bumper itself too. I don't think I have any pictures or footage of it, but it does come pretty close with it aired out to that. And I mean, with how much is already chopped up as is, there's no need to leave it untouched. You may as well go big. And come down, get a little bit more out of the bumper, and kind of just taper it off on both ends for a nice smooth. Again, make sure you got your eyes and ears on. And then all we're going to do is we're going to grab that Dremel with the diamond cutoff wheel, and then I'm going to set it to 6. Pretty much its max. And we're just going to slowly but surely start cutting our way through. I don't like to just sit in one spot and hack all the way through. I like to do light passes, kind of score myself a line, and then cut in that way. So here we go. Okay, so now that we've got that all cut out, we should be able to just bend it out and probably just finish trimming that little spot there. bit more to cut that side. Alright, and there you have it. The outer skin of the quarter panel is removed. I will say one thing, my Dremel is definitely on its last legs, and that took significantly longer than it should have. Even an actual Dremel brand will do better for you with a higher RPM. I actually liked the regular cutoff wheel better than this diamond blade. It just cut faster and smoother, even though you have to change out the wheels every now and then. But for this inner skin, I'm going to try to see if I do have one kicking around so we can get this tabbed out. Okay, so thankfully I did have a couple of these 1.5 inch Dremel metal cutting blades kicking around, and with the easy lock, just so this says nice and easy, pull down on the collar, twist, comes right off, new one goes on, twist it 90 degrees, and you're good to go. As always, put those eyes on, put those ears on. When it comes to cutting this inner fender, inner quarter, you can see you can kind of see the tabs that I already created the first time. I just cut every inch and a half or so, just enough that you can follow the curve and bend each up and get a relatively smooth arc. Ultimately, it doesn't matter too much, just because it's all going to be covered up anyway. You're never going to see it unless you're doing something like this. So I'm going to buzz off this little tail that's hanging here, and then we'll tab out the rest. So that's one wheel gone, and hopefully this next wheel we have enough to do the rest. I think I only have a standard one left, swap out if need be. Just real quick, big thing when you're doing this is you want to just cut up enough. Oh, and I guess what I found. Another one of those fender clips, fender liner clips. You want to cut up high enough that when you fold it up, that you can bend it to meet with this. You don't want to cut it too short that you're hanging further down and you're not creating as much space. Alright, so the second blade, their wheel wasn't enough, so I guess we'll just tough it out with the diamond wheel for the last little bit. Okay, now that we got everything tabbed out, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dead blow. You can use a regular hammer or whatever you want, and we're just going to bend these up, and that'll be the extent of what I'm able to do today, because I don't have a welder here to tack all this in. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of. So there you have it. The outer and inner sheet metal has been cut. The inner sheet metal has been cut into tabs and then bent up so that we can just get rid of that paint, get some bare metal. I had my brother-in-law come over, tack it all into place. And once this is all tacked into place, all this extra will just be cut off. And we'll go over everything with seam sealer. But that'll be a video for another day. Who knows when? Don't know what his schedule's like, but maybe this YouTube thing keeps me motivated and whatnot to get the work done on the car. I've put it off for some time now, so it's nice to get it back out here with it. But yeah, up front, what I was talking about, there's this pinch weld up under the fender here that you can't really see anymore. You can see all the tabs that I cut. You know, that used to come down to here, as you can see, and probably gained probably about 3/4 of an inch to an inch more drop in the front with that gone. So, you know, maybe we'll get that TRC front lip actually on the ground this season. All right, I'm gonna throw the wheel back on. That way I can shoot back on the ground and see what she's looking like. All right, so here you have it. You can see how much extra room we created today. I might trim a little bit more here on the bumper and over on here by the door. There's no longer touching, but if I up to a 285/30, you're gonna be 3 millimeters or so bigger. 35 series is gonna be, you know, probably 12 to 15 millimeters bigger, which we're definitely hitting then. So we wouldn't be able to fully air down. So yeah, just to close out, again, I'm in no way a professional. There's a dozen different ways to get this done faster, better, cleaner. This is just the tools that I'm using and the way that I made it work for me. I'm happy with the end result, but you know, proceed at your own risk. It's a big undertaking, but it's worth it in the end if you're looking to be able to run significantly wider wheel and tire setups, or you know, get as low as you can with that wheel and tire setup. Yeah, so I guess this is the part where I have to do the typical YouTube spiel of like the video, comment on it, let me know your thoughts, what you liked, what you want to see different. Subscribe so you can see what comes next with the rebuild, share it to a friend, something. Definitely look forward to seeing what everybody has to say, and start figuring out what and when we're going to make the next one. All right, everybody, take care.